Hi everyone, I'm Belle. Today I'll be doing a talk-through of Uncle of Hero Tsogt from my album Destinations. Destinations is an album that was inspired by observing the changing environments in nature. And in this particular segment, I was researching on desertification, which is when a very habitable place turns into desert. And I was looking specifically on desertification of the Gobi Desert and the impact that it has had on mankind, flora, and the animal residents in the region. And so as part of this research, I wanted to create something from a melody from Mongolia. And so what I did was I went into British Library and I started looking at manuscripts of Mongolian folk songs. And eventually I became transfixed with a particular tune, and that is Uncle of Hero Tsogt. Let's get started on my reimagination of this piece. The original folk song was very cheerful with lyrical melodies, and for my reimagination I wanted to paint the feeling of traveling across a large desert landscape. And so we begin with the galloping horses. The melodic material begins in bar 7. I had taken the beginning of the original melody and hidden them in the midst of the fast-moving semiquavers, where the phrase expands and then opens up like a whirl of wind. Like if you've seen the laundry flying from the drying line in the wind, that's how the melodic line expands and unfolds. The left hand accompanies in quavers, which is very bouncing. It's like a fast oompa. The left hand is like a forward-moving horse and needs to be very steady while the right hand is being carried away by the wind. You will see the anchoring points like in bar 7 and 15, which are grounding points that signifies the beginning of the melodic cycle. And so make sure we arrive at these points. I will put in a little touch of paddle as well at these accents. So. A tip for the semiquaver runs in the right hand, I would anchor each beat to make sure that you're not rushing, and it makes it easier to play as well. So for example, and then when practiced with the left hand, it gives me a sense of anchor. And so on. And so even the right hand line is flapping in the wind, we still want to keep it grounded to the horse, grounded with the left hand, otherwise it will become out of control. And make sure you practice the hands separately, slowly, and then together with metronome. Okay, now continuing. Okay, so towards the end of this section, you will see an accent, which is a bit like the slapstick accent. And this is like a sudden lock, which signifies a change in direction when we're traveling with a horse as we enter into the next section. Section 2, which starts at the figure C, is a soloing section. In the recording and live performances, this is a section where my right hand moves to the synth and creating a sound that is inspired by the Mongolian tsuur. You can also play the right hand on the piano too if you do not wish to use a synth or you don't have a synth. Now the right hand in this section is essentially soloing, and you can add or change the right hand part that's been written on the score as you please. Generally, guiding the right hand solo is a feeling of dancing in the wind. You'll note that the rhythmic quality in the right hand here is more free, and the contour moves up and then down and up and then down, as if it was a piece of paper being carried by the wind. Again, keep the left hand super steady here. Towards the end of the solo, you'll hear another accent. and then the slapstick, which takes us into the transition. So the transition begins at figure D or bar 58, and this section is a building section. We're going to come right down dynamically. The writing becomes very focused into the central register. So it starts around here, and then it opens up gradually, building and expanding. It's like we're zooming out so that we can see the full scene again. And in the beginning of the build, we are not going to use any pedals, so keep it dry, like a flick of sand. The pedal comes in a bit later at bar 67. We want to use the resonance of the piano to help us build. Okay, a tip for the jumping octaves in the left hand. There are two tips actually. Tip one is always physically look at where you are going. And the second tip is to practice this section with only your thumb. The thumb is actually the brain of the hand. It guides the rest of the hand in terms of movement. So to practice, this is what I would do. So that you learn the distance between the notes and the jumps. All right, so we enter into figure E, the third section, which comprises of the same material as section 1. But this time it is more violent with a left hand movement. And also the register in the right hand is higher. We're playing now here. Okay, so let's play this. Okay, and then so we move into the next section. We have a 4-bar turnaround. And then starting at bar 95, this is section 4, and this is what I refer to as a run away from the sandstorm section. The writing in the right hand against the left creates a sense of cross rhythm. The top notes of the right hand is what we are going to be listening to and what we're going to be phrasing. And in terms of phrasing, we're feeling in groups of 8 bars, with a feeling of the wind resetting every 8 bars. The articulation in the left hand is ad-lib, and let's use the pedal and also the left hand to help phrase the overall direction. So. We finally have the release. The rhythmic movement stops altogether into something much broader, and now we have the thunder. And all the energy that was built up before are now being released via these chords, the thunder chords. It's a very scenic moment and rather majestic, so make sure you keep the sense of broadness and time. And you can also ad-lib in the left hand for effect. You'll see in the left hand here, you'll have tremolo, which is like a rolling thunder. And in performance, I strike the inside bass strings with a piano, which you can do as well if you like. If we continue. So the thundercloud eventually moves away and we mellow out. And now we're in figure H, which is what I call the wind down section. Here you'll see the low bass in the left hand, and this should have a sinking feeling. It's like the feeling of throwing yourself onto the bed when you're feeling really exhausted, like exhausted from playing all the semiquavers in the previous pages. And the right hand throws back to the melodic material from section 1. But now it's a bit more segmented, and the whirls of wind are a bit smaller, they are a bit calmer as well. And over this section, both right and left hand gradually step down, tired and defeated. And here we enter into our outro, and bar 191 in the right hand for the first time and the only time in this piece we hear the original folk melody being quoted, but only the first half. And then it gets taken away by the wind. And here we end the piece like settling dust. And so here it is. This is my reimagination of Hero of Uncle Tsogt. I hope you've enjoyed this walkthrough, talk-through, and that it's been helpful. If you want to listen to the whole piece, it's on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play, and so on. And once again, which is available in the link in the description below. I hope you have liked it, and see you later.